Hello, everyone. Welcome to our edition of Topher and Turner. I'm Topher.
I'm Turner.
And tonight we're going to be reviewing The Iron Lady, starring Meryl Streep.
The Iron Lady is basically the story of Margaret Thatcher, the first and only female Prime Minister of the United Kingdom.
Right. Of course, we have Margaret Thatcher, is played by Meryl Streep. Just phenomenal. You have Jim Broadbent playing her husband. And then you have Alexandra Roach playing the young Margaret Thatcher, who before she was married was Margaret Robertson.
Correct.
And then the young Dennis Thatcher is played by, Harry Lloyd.
Harry Lloyd. This movie, as a docudrama or a biography, is lousy. I mean, it's big time no. You don't really learn that much about Margaret Thatcher. Basically, if you want to see Meryl Streep in one of her finest roles, great, because she's incredible. But the movie in itself is a disaster. It's all over the place. It jumps from young to old. It starts out when she's buying milk in a convenience store, and you're like, okay, what's going on? And then it jumps to her being young. It jumps back and forth. It's all over the place.
Right. There's moments where they transition from her being the Meryl Streep, the older version of Margaret, and she's thinking about something, and they're showing it that she's thinking about it, and they go back to that moment, and you have the young actors playing her. There's moments where that's done very well. I don't think it's a very pivotal moment. It doesn't really show the Iron Lady. It just shows where she came from, and that's important to some extent. I agree. But it's the Iron Lady. The focus should be primarily who is the Iron Lady, maybe a little bit where she came from, but what propelled her into the United Kingdom to become one of the finest leaders, one of the finest female leaders that they may ever know in a very long time in the 20th century. We don't get who is Margaret Thatcher. They don't really say who that is. We know her in history books as the first female Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. That's great and wonderful. That's a landmark event. But what was she about? Where does she stand? They just have glimpses of her policies. She was very conservative. She didn't believe in giving to the needy. She believed that everyone should earn equally, no matter how low or how high they were on the chain. And that gave her a very firm, sturdy outlook. And the people looked to her like a villain, the
Right.
Iron Lady,
Right.
which is where they get it from. And she is paralleled with Arnold at the same time period, the same Ronald Reagan, where they're also very firm in the American public. So they clash there. And then the Iron Lady makes me think of the Iron Wall and all these different scenarios, but they don't really refer to them. They just have Meryl Streep play a great performance, and she throws out some lines. They do some makeup on her. Yeah, it's Margaret Thatcher. But who is Margaret Thatcher?
Right. You really don't learn anything about Margaret Thatcher other than she's a conservative. That's basically it. And her political career, they don't really touch much on it other than the Falkland Islands. They deal a little bit with Ronald Reagan a little bit, and pretty much that's it. You don't really get a lot of her political career, so you don't really get to learn that much about Margaret Thatcher. It's mainly a story about her and her dementia or whatever malady she's got, because it's never defined. The main thing is that she's talking to her husband, who has passed away. And you're confused in the beginning what's going on, and then you find out what's going on with him being passed away and that sort of thing. But it's just great performance by her, but not a very good story.
There's one thing I want to say as far as the dialogue goes between the old Margaret Thatcher, played by Meryl Streep, and her husband, played by Jim Broadbent. There obviously is a lot of dialogue there in the movie, and like I said, it's mostly when she has dementia, and she is talking to her husband, where else the rest of the world doesn't see this man, doesn't feel him. She's interacting with him. If I could make a movie about dementia, that would be great. I thought this movie was about Margaret Thatcher. And then you see where the young version comes in and swoops her off her feet, but yet the lady that plays the young Margaret Robertson, she says, well, wait, I'm not just going to be some trophy here. I'm going to be someone. And great, amazing line in the movie. I very much appreciate that was said in the beginning, before their marriage. And he comes back and says, oh, but didn't you know that's why I love you, is because of you're this way. I don't want to make you some person to put on a pedestal and put you to the side. And this is the sad part. So they go out, they become a union, and they start their family. They are very much in love in the beginning, and then, of course, the result of that is children. The sad part is that he kind of falls back into that, to me, that role of, well, you're my wife, you need to take care of the business as a mother, and she kind of neglects her motherly duties and leaves it, I guess, to the nanny or whoever's taking care of the children, maybe even him. And there's a lot of scenes where you see the children crying for their mom and they're not getting what they need. And later on, when the dementia does set in, you see that at least one of the children is not really in the movie at all. And the other child isn't there for
not
her.
Emotionally. She's there physically occasionally to help with needs, but she's not there emotionally.
No, and it's just a very broken family. The father's gone. One of the children's not present. The other child's having to hold this burden up. It was very, very sad. I kind of cried a little bit at that part.
The only thing I got from this movie is wanting me actually to go look up more on Margaret Thatcher, to read the book maybe, to go and research her, because this gave me nothing. I didn't learn anything about her that I didn't already know.
Exactly. So I guess 2 thumbs down, grade maybe D, and only because Meryl's in it.
Right. Well,
otherwise, complete failure.
Her performance A+, because she was incredible in it, as always. Really, the only reason to go see this movie is Meryl Streep. Otherwise, don't bother.
Right. Great job on the acting of everyone that was in the movie.
Makeup was good.
All that was great, but the writers did not put a solid Margaret Thatcher movie together. Let's try again, people. Thank you.
Yeah. But again, it's too all over the place.
Definitely. There wasn't one constant theme that I could pick out and say, that's what I liked. More of this. They did a great job.
See, and you had said earlier about there was like 3 parts to the movie.
Yeah.
The young, the middle, and, the end. Well, my problem was if they had just done her life throughout in chronological order,
right,
I might have enjoyed it more. But instead, you bounce here, you bounce there, you bounce there, you bounce back to this, you bounce to here. It's just all over the place. Yes, I could follow it, but it just was so disjointed, it was just jarring.
Oh, yeah.
And I have an idea why they did it, because they wanted to get Meryl Streep in there right away. But they could have done that by starting her out as Meryl Streep, at old Margaret Thatcher.
The Prime Minister.
Played a little bit and brought up the thing where she was talking to her husband. And then have her have a flashback about her life and then tell the story of her life would have made much more sense and been more enjoyable to me for what little information you got from the movie.
Way too much jumping back and forth, not enough consistency. I'm sorry, the creators of this movie just didn't aim it. They didn't catch what needed to be caught. Thank you for joining us tonight. Again, I'm Topher.
I'm Turner.
We have events coming up to let us know what movies you want to see. We'll be at the theater door as soon as they open. Again, DVDs, anything you want us to review, let us know right away. Topher at tntonlinereviews.com.
Turner at tntonlinereviews.com. And don't forget Facebook, Twitter, and I believe most other social sites.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.